Good evening once again. What I'm going to cover in the next 15-20 minutes are some of the important pillars of our medium-term plan and why it is central to the success of the plan. Let's go straight first to the point which Manian mentioned on the theme on cost optimization and COE. You all know FedServ is a 100% operational subsidiary of the bank. And we are currently operating in 4 centers in the country. We started in 2018, but really gathered pace and picked up post-COVID. We have about 1,600 plus employees, and the largest center is in Cochin. And Indore is the latest center which we opened last year, largely catering to contact center for the Hindi-speaking geography of the country. Activities carried out by FedServ falls under 8 broad categories, which are approved by the regulator. And what gets done in FedServ is key to the branch transformation and free the branch initiative, apart from related benefits for some of the other initiatives. As we speak, there is a review of the medium-term location strategy for FedServ as well. We do want to make sure that the next center which we open caters to multiple language skills and also has an ability to scale up rather than just say 100 or 200 seater center. We do want to look at a slightly medium to long-term strategy. As Manian mentioned in his speech, the Free the Branch initiative, like I said earlier, is largely dependent on how we centralize some of the operations and move the non-sales activities out of branches. Before coming to that, I'll just touch briefly about what are the activities which are currently being done in FedServ. All the activities listed on this page are currently being carried out at FedServ. But what we do want to do is build on this, deepen it, and create the scale. For example, let's take account services, accounts and KYC services. For say SA individual account opening, whilst we do have a straight through process, what we want to get right is try and get most of it through that, get the first time right percentage higher than where we are currently. There's still a long way for us to improve that. And completely paperless. So that is just one example. LCRD operations started with the SARFAESI notice serving, which was done over there. And then we started adding other activities. Collection follow-up was the next. What is important to note is that these are activities which are being done under the direct supervision of the bank. So there are bank officials who head each of these units to make sure that the procedures and process laid down and the approving authority and the supervisory authority is with the bank. World over, large companies are flocking to India to set up GCCs. And there is no reason why we can't scale up FedServ, which we had said earlier is one of our strategic cost lever. And I'm sure it will play out in the years to come. How do we create scale and set up centers of excellence within FedServ? It can't be just a pool of people sitting there and doing what was being done earlier somewhere. We need to look at eliminate, automate, transform the process, digitize, and run it as centers of excellence. To some extent, I can say that the last one, trade finance, is largely done out of FedServ now. The team is centralized, and it has the largest number of bank staff working on that area because it also involves the SWIFT-related activities where it's only a bank person who can authorize. So based on process, we decide how the structure will be. It's quite a flexible structure. Has to meet all the regulatory requirements. And the point which I'm trying to make is there is enormous scope for us to deepen what we are doing in the existing activities, In addition to, when I come to the next slide, cover about what we want to move as well. So this was one slide where both Shalini and Manian talked about free the branch. You can see a host of activities which we believe can be centralized, moved to FedServe. And the activities which are listed here are highly branch intensive, whether it's gold loan related or customer support or customer queries being resolved through phone. We want to redirect all of this to a central team. Now, location is something which we will decide. It could be in more than one location to ensure that we have BCP and risk mitigation plans in place. But as I said earlier, the skill set which we will have here will be of the highest quality to ensure that the best of customer experience is delivered from this team. We always have the tendency to call this as back office. I always say it's not back office for two main reasons. One is the activities done by these teams actually impact the customer directly. And two, activities done in this place, actually they have a direct, like say contact center. It's the operations team which talks to the customer. It's not back office. So it's an operational support team. In my view, very critical, important to have the right skill set and who know the products in and out. We cannot have just human bodies, just interacting with customers. So right skilling, making sure that they are aware of the product, making sure that they know there is a new product rollout happening, and this is where technology comes into play. They will have to be equipped, whether it's a contact center or any other, or ATM monitoring. They should know that there's a new product coming, or is available. How do they get alerts on next best offer so that when they talk to the customer, they can convey that. The virtual relationship manager aspect, again, is beyond just free the branch. In Manian mentioned about wealth management. And as we scale up wealth management and other advisory services, the need for relationship managers will expand. There'll be a need for good quality RMs. And not all of them can be geographically spread. There will be certain activities which a virtual RM. Today there are banks who offer that. You can have a video chat with the RM wherever they are based. How do we create those capabilities at a central location? Again, knowledge of the product, knowledge of the process, and knowledge of the customer, because giving the right advice to the right risk appetite of customer is also important. So it calls for skill set which we are working in terms of making sure that the people whom we get into these areas have the right skill set. Next one is on the tech part. This is the second important pillar of the bank's medium-term strategy. And we all know technology is now playing such an important role in most of the activities across industries, and banking is no exception. In fact, in banking, after people, it's technology which is most important. Raj can correct me. In the bank, after sales headcount approval, the largest number of approvals are for tech resources. Raj, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The requirements are huge. Our ambitions have already been spelled out, what we want to. We want to make sure that the resources are in place to support that growth and ambition. We cannot be doing catch-up, and being reactive all the time. So even very recently, there was a large, approval which we had for hiring resources. 2-3 elements to this. One is the tech insourcing and capability enhancement part. Traditionally, the bank has been working with a lot of partners and vendors for development and support. A rough ratio would be like 70% by vendors and partners and 30% in-house. It has its own pros and cons, but we believe that the ratio is currently skewed more towards dependence on third-party vendors. Always good to have that balance in the lever. So we are trying to get, the immediate target is to bring it to around 50-50. The second angle to this is we are able to attract very good talent at the entry level and say a couple of years experience. Extremely good pipeline response to our requirement. How do we make sure we give them some very enriching and good experience for them to develop themselves as well? If it is 70% done by, say, a third-party vendor, the teams or the young engineers end up just being a coordinator, project managing between the vendor and the bank's team. We want to change that as well. We need to make sure that these resources enjoy what they are doing. We use their skill set and give them the opportunity to develop themselves as good professionals in their space. So this 50% is the initial target. We'll see how it goes. I know it's not easy, but it's a journey we have to undertake to make sure that the professionals whom we get into IT enjoy working with us and in developing products. We have to give them the space to experiment, and the innovation aspect will come into play as we give them the room to try out different things. Some of them will fail, we all know that. But then we have to make sure that that environment is created for them to be trying out new ideas and making sure eventually the customer experience gets better. The point on release management is one point which I want to talk about under greater control and flexibility. Today, if you look at our mobile banking, like I said earlier, we have a fairly decent mobile banking offering, but our releases are quite limited in a year as compared to what we would like it to be. There are, nimble organizations in this space who have releases every 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I'm being very conservative by saying 2 to 3 weeks, some of them even faster. Whereas ours is a few months. How do we get better at that? So that is the other objective we want to do by moving into more, bringing it in-house, having better control, reducing dependence on third-party vendors. Obviously builds institutional knowledge and expertise. Yes, there will be the risk of some attrition, which is bound to be there. We can't escape from that, but in the medium to long term, it will pay off. Having the skill set in-house will help us have better control over the quality of output. And of course, enhanced security. On the bottom part, we have a few points like data consolidation via data lake. Today in the bank, the single source of truth for all numbers is from our planning team. And all of us make sure that whatever we discuss, debate, is based on the numbers from that team. We want to build further on this, and both structured data, unstructured data, financial, non-financial, everything is consolidated. And we are embarking on a journey to create a data lake in discussion with a few partners as well to help us in this journey. And the analytics team is also getting beefed up to meet this requirement. On the AI and data-driven business, in addition to the reporting aspect, there are a few support functions related, which we believe is possible through this. And we have already embarked on a few projects on HR. Learning and development is where we are using the AI-driven tools. Fraud detection. Fraud detection is an area which is like, the more you do, the more you need to be kind of investing in that space. There is so much to be done. And the speed at which we respond to this is only increasing. Now there is a need to have, scanning of UPI transactions. It has to be done in milliseconds. You need to have the technical capability to scan fraud detection for UPI transactions as well. And the last one, example which was there in Manian's earlier slide, is on IS audit. Today, we depend on either Big Four or some large firms to do the IS audit. How do we balance that by getting in our internal audit team well-qualified IS audit qualified resources who can do most of the work, and then we rely on the external agencies only for a limited aspect. Because we all know if you go to any of the Big Four or any large firm, it's not cheap. It's not just cost optimization. I think we have to understand that our ability to respond to the tech changes is faster when it's in-house vis-a-vis when it's in the hands of somebody else. Yes, there are areas where we will need external expertise, external perspective, and maybe need to deliver faster. We may not have all the skill sets. Having said that, we need to, today it's like entirely dependent, so we need to just move some extent to get that in-house. Shalini spoke about the CX part in her session, so this is just a graphical representation of that on sales, service, and marketing. She did touch upon the responses aspect for the marketing piece. On the sales, there is renewed effort to use the CX tool to its full potential. It's an Oracle platform, right from lead generation. We want to make sure that the tool is fully utilized, its potential used. We are seeing increased usage of it. The potential to use it, we believe, is huge, and I'm sure we will see the benefits of using this tool. It is also a discipline of capturing the entire customer journey and not left to just say a WhatsApp or someone's having it in their mobile phone. It's institutional memory about a customer, and also it's available pan-India. If a customer walks in to a branch, say in Mumbai, to inquire about something, about a product, it's captured in the system so that tomorrow, whether the person calls a contact center or goes into another branch in Mumbai and asks, we'll immediately be able to say, you went into this branch and asked, we will help you. This is the offer we are giving you. It just helps in making those decisions faster and being able to relate to the customer needs as well. In this slide, we're talking about the point which was mentioned earlier. In the breakthrough slide, you saw tech and innovation is at the core of whatever we are doing. Examples were given about reducing the number of LOS. Earlier you heard a number of 13 loan origination systems which are there in the bank today. How do we unify them? How do we bring them to low single digits? Ideally, we would like to have 1 or 2, but it will happen. But how do we get that number reduced and make sure that it's at an optimal level? On the adoption of low-code, no-code platform, we have recently signed up with a Siemens product called Mendix. Again, this is another step to enrich, enable our teams to be trying out, working on making the changes on the go. It's an agile way of doing things so that they can experiment, they can customize, they can do it in modules. You don't have to wait for the full code to be written. So this is something which is going to go live in the end of the March. March it will go live. Cybersecurity and cloud transformation, I mentioned at the beginning about the need to be investing in this continuously. On cloud, again, there are applications which we can put on the cloud. There are some which we cannot due to restrictions on customer data, and with DPDP it will become, we need to be more mindful of what we put on cloud and what we don't. And there are things like applications which are non-customer related. We already have a lot of applications in cloud. We'll add to that, whether it's HRMS or learning and development. There are initiatives to have digital cloud-enabled solutions on learning and development. On cloud, there is always this debate about multi-tenancy versus single tenancy or on-prem. It is expensive, but there are areas where we have to make sure that we can't put it in a multi-tenancy environment because the The key is with the software service provider, which is not acceptable to us. Areas where we can do, we can't do. It's again a balance where, and we are in constant engagement with various partners, including discussions with the regulator to make sure that we are compliant with what is expected. The spends on IT, I gave an indication at the earlier session as well. They were less than 4% 4 years back, close to 6.8, medium term 7.5. Best in class in the industry in India today is about 8% of OPEX. Globally, it's close to 10%. Because the pace at which tech is changing every day, we read something new. The latest one being yesterday, at least I read about some quantum computing by MS, which is going to be a different state. Yeah. I don't know what it's going to do, but it claimed to be totally new and change the way computing would happen. Last point about leveraging the AI ML for big data analytics. Like I said, we have I would say, a compact analytics team today, but given our growth plans, the need for our teams to have sharp, accurate information on a timely basis to take decisions on the go is very important, and analytics plays a very, very big role in that. It's not just enough to be investing in cutting-edge machines and tools. You need to have the people to analyze and get insights out of it. Otherwise, it will just be data which is there in a tool, may not serve the purpose. So we are investing in building out that team as well. Currently operating from one location, it will become multi-geography and covering multiple products, including cards. As we expand on unsecured, you need fraud analytics people, and building out on that as well is part of the agenda. I just picked two key projects which is underway. One is on mobile app revamp, and the other one is a super app for corporate customers. Yeah, we have a decent mobile banking app. It serves the purpose today, but we need to be having it ready for the future. Fit for purpose now, but in anticipation of the customer's changing needs and also the changing customer profile which we will acquire as we go along. We need to make sure the app is highly customizable, personalizable, so that the user can decide what they want on the home screen, what they don't want to see. It should be in the hands of the user to customize the tabs. So we want to create that. That work is happening. Today we work with again, this is another case where we work with a third-party vendor for mobile banking. Eventually, we want to bring it in-house so that we can manage it better, have the releases faster as well. And on the corporate super app, the idea is to have a super app where then the customer, all the segments of the corporate commercial can use the same app, and they can decide which one they want to use, whether it's trade or payments or cash management. All the features should be made available in a single app. And finally, all that we have heard in the last 3 hours, if we do everything, what is the envisioned outcome? You saw the ROA and ROE graph earlier in Manian's discussion. If we deliver the ROA, we're quite sure the ROE will follow. And if we deliver this, we are confident that the re-rating and how the price to book would move as we go forward. This is no indication of the future, but these are expected outcomes which we believe if we deliver. Again, the key here is what Manian said, execution. The focus is on execution. And we have to be ruthless, sharp, focused on it, which we are confident of doing it. There's no going back on that. It's a commitment which all the teams here and those who are not present here have made. Whether the economic environment is not so good, will improve in future, all that is external. What we will be focused on, what we can do to make sure that we deliver on what we plan to of what we are embarking to deliver. So to sum up, we have outlined our medium-term approach, building on an existing strong foundation. We want to improve the quality of the earnings, diversify the income streams to make sure that we build a high-class franchise. I'll now hand over to Manian to wrap up the session. Thank you.